What's up, everybody? Patrick 1969, and it's finally here, the MSM-03C Hy-Gogg. This is a robot Damashii release. This is number 246, and oh man, I think I'm more excited over this figure than the GM or the Alex Gundam release. This figure was the first mobile suit we really see in the War in the Pocket anime. Now, if you're unfamiliar, Gundam War in the Pocket, it's a little mini-series, about 8 or so episodes, I think, and this Hygogg was introduced, this version of the Gogg was introduced in the beginning of the series, and it pretty much made a very awesome impact. This guy is a badass. Taking a look at the front of the box, like I said, this is number 246 in the Robot Damashii line, and it comes from Gundam War in the Pocket 0080. It keeps in tradition with the War in the Pocket design for their boxes, I guess you could say. No window to see the figure, but you see the figure posing with some of the accessories you get. In fact, it kind of looks drawn on there. It doesn't really look like a picture that was taken. You see some GMs in the back, and if you're lucky enough to have some, you can pose them with this guy, and I'll show you that accessory later in the review. Taking a look at the side of the box, you can see the Hygogg just standing there, nice and proud, and then the back shows what you can do with the Hygogg, just some of the features, some of the bending or articulation on the figure, more posing, information. And then on the opposite side, you see all the accessories, some of the accessories attached to the figure. We also get a sticker sheet, which is pretty cool. The mono eye does move on this figure. Looks like it, yeah, showing that. And then you can see some of the poses you can do with the GM cold type. So, yeah, lots to do here. And let me just mention also, this box is huge compared to the Gundam Kai or Zaku Kai. This guy's pretty big. He's a whole nother half a box compared to the Zaku 2. So, all right, so that's the box. Let's take the figure out and see how it looks. Now, before you start playing with your Hygogg, I'm just going to let you know, kind of a warning. Definitely take a look at the instruction sheet for this figure. It is really going to come in handy when you're taking it apart, putting accessories on and whatnot. And yeah, just a big one. In fact, this figure is so heavily detailed and has so many parts that it not only takes up one whole sheet of instructions, but the backside as well. So there's a lot to do with this figure. Here it is, the Hygogg from War in the Pocket. Oof, man, you know what? I am loving this figure as is. Right out of the package, it just looks very cool, very badass, very mean and tough. These arms are insanely long. Man, really long. In fact, there's a lot of detail I can already tell inside these arms. We'll get a closer look. Right there, you can see wires and cables and whatnot. Lots of articulation. These claws on the end. Little cannon right there. A lot of articulation. I don't know if you can tell, but there's like seems like a mouthpiece going over the mono eye. It can be pushed up like that. That's pretty cool. Yeah, very, very cool. I like it a lot. It already has the Cyclops team emblem. I think that's what they were, Team Cyclops or something like that. The Zeon emblem that they have. Let's see. Bottom, very detailed in the feet. Taking a look at the back. Yeah, very cool. Big thrusters. They move. The thrusters move. Very cool. Yeah, this figure looks pretty damn badass. I like it. I like it a lot. Let's see, can I make it stand up? Man, kind of seems like these arms are kind of just getting in the way now, all of a sudden, but you got to pose this guy just right with these arms. Otherwise, he just, yeah, all right. There we go. Yeah, I like that. Looks cool. All right. So now that we've taken the first look at the figure, let's go ahead and check out accessories. So first things first is the little sticker sheet you get. You get numbers 1, 2, 3. Yeah, you get 2 of 1, 2, and 3. It's a little hard to see, but yeah. So you can I think you can put that not only on the mobile suit, but I think you put these on the missile containers. In fact, I'm fairly certain you put these on the missile containers. And speaking of which, here they are. Now these go on the outside of the mobile suit. Of course, these are kind of just the little customized extra parts that came for the mobile suit to recreate their mission of destroying the Alex Gundam. So we get these two big old missile silos, and then this custom propellant backpack that goes on the back of the Hygogg. This antenna piece does come off, and in fact you get an extra one. I would recommend opening the box very carefully, because this extra antenna piece that is inside the package, it is like right next to the figure, and when you're trying to just pull the clamshell off, it goes flying. You don't want to go looking for that. It is a pain in the ass. Trust me, I know. So this guy goes onto the back of the Hygogg. In fact, let's just go ahead and show that right now. Get your little hole right there, place it on there with the peg. You'll hear a little bit of a snap, and yeah, so now it's on there. Not too complicated. You get a number of different effect parts as well, starting off with the smoke effect parts. You get this nice ring. These are detachable. In fact, they come, well, I don't want to show you those right now. They come with a ring that can open up, and it's clear so you can see where exactly it is, and it goes over, I believe, the missile silos, or maybe even the Hygogg's own hand or arm or whatever, and then they close up. So these are pretty cool. You also get two extra propellant smoke effect parts. Now these can go on the back of the backpack accessory. In fact, I'll show you how that looks right here. Yeah. So you can recreate the mobile suit going through the water. These look really cool. I like these a lot. Place that right there. You also get two, I guess you can consider it two beam effect parts. So the first one, of course, is the Hygogg's, I guess you could say its main weapon, which is its particle beam cannon that comes out of its hand, I guess. I don't know if that's the right term, but yeah, you get a nice clear somewhat blue effect part, blue at the tip and blue at the end. Yeah, very nice, looks pretty. You also get thruster effect parts for two of these little missiles that shoot out from the containers that I showed earlier. So these are part of it. You can attach the missiles, and they have little attachment pegs, and I don't want to press them on too much. I don't know how strong they are, but yeah, they go in the back of the missiles, and they just make it look like they're firing off like so. You get two of those. Let me show the second one if I can grab it from the clamshell here. Yeah, you get two of these. Very nice. And then this just attaches to the Hygogg's hand. Man, it seems like the accessories just don't stop with this figure. Now you get one extra translucent ring. I haven't really read the instructions all the way through to see exactly what that is used for, but maybe it's just extra. You also get some interchangeable claws for either the left or the right hand. If I can pick them up. But these are hard plastic posed claws, so they don't fold in or out. They're just merely bent, and they stay that way. So those are used to recreate a scene from the show, and I'll show you that later on. There are quite a bit of them. And then you get also this mysterious peg that I'm not sure exactly what that goes to. Well, I am sure, but I'm going to show you that at near the end of the review. So very cool. We'll recreate that scene later. Okay, showing off the articulation for this monster of a mobile suit is going to be hard, but yeah, I'm just going to try and wing it. Anyways, starting from the head, there's absolutely no articulation unless you want to count that little flap that goes over the eyepiece. You can, however, take off the head and... You can take off the head, move around the eye a little bit. Not really a lot of articulation there, but you know, it's just something. At least it moves. Starting with the shoulders, you can move the shoulder armor down to recreate other scenes. You do have full 360 rotation, and there is quite a bit of a bend forward with that butterfly joint going out. In fact, you see a big old hole in the mobile suit right there. Then you move to the shoulder or upper shoulder. You can lift the arm up about that much. Wow, that's a lot. And you can rotate at, I guess, what you can consider the bicep or the upper shoulder as well. You do have, I think you have like 3 points of articulation in the actual arm of the mobile suit, and they go upward, not downward. And there you can see the wiring and the tubes going through the figure's arm. So nice sculpting there, nice little details and whatnot. It feels like these are also on a ball joint, so not only can you bend them, but you can also rotate them around. I wouldn't recommend doing it too much though. Yeah, looks like it's just a slight rotation. You do get rotation, full 360 rotation in, I guess what you could consider the forearm of the hand. So this can rotate full 360, and then you can bend at the wrist, I guess you could say. And then these claws are very much articulated as shown here. Yep, very cool. So that's it for the arms. Going over to the torso, you do get a bend forward, quite a bit of a bend forward, and then a bend back. Not so much, I think. You can rotate full 360. That's very cool. You do get, I don't know if that's quite very high of a kick, but you can kick out about that much. You do get a double bend in the knee, going off into the toes of the figure. You can bend them down, and then you do get some ankle pivot as shown. I think you get like 2 points of articulation in that ankle. So quite a bit of articulation, very nice. Yeah, this guy is pretty much built for posing, and the cool thing is it seems like all the joints are pretty stiff and like they're gonna stay that way, so not much to complain about there. So I thought I'd just show you some of the effect parts attached to the figure. I'm going to be attaching the basic beam spray laser effect part, and then the effect part going behind the missile when launched. So all you have to do, like I said, there's 2 small little pegs on, or 1 peg on each effect part, and you just attach it to the inside of, well, I guess it's the palm of the Hygogg. So that looks pretty damn cool, and I love how there's not a lot of weight being put on this side. In fact, it feels still pretty light, and this arm is really strong. The joints are really tough, and it doesn't droop down at all. For stability, you even get to use the other hand laid down on the floor there. So yeah, very cool, very nice. Like this effect part. Now let's go ahead and attach the missile effect part and see how that looks. Okay, here's the Hygogg with the missile effect part. Again, no issues with weight on that one arm. Everything's still in place. Very, very nice. It doesn't look half bad. In fact, I like it a lot. Now, I'm going to give you guys some warnings. Now, the way this thing is supposed to work with this effect part is that you're supposed to have this canister and these smoke effect parts with this plastic ring all attached to this forearm. Having this stuff, which is considerably heavy, on this hand or on this arm will droop it down. And in fact, it is very, very hard to get all this stuff onto this attachment and then placed onto the arm of the Hygogg. In fact, it was so frustrating that I just gave up on it. It is very difficult, and if I had to point out this as a negative, it very much so is. It's just too complicated in what you have to do, and on top of that, they don't give you any sort of stand to place underneath the arm of the figure. So even if you got all this stuff attached to the figure's arm, it would be drooped down and wouldn't be able to hold the weight of these effect parts. I am, however, going to try and talk you through exactly how these effect parts are supposed to be used. So you go ahead and take the bare hand of the Hygogg and you go ahead and attach the missile onto the palm, like there. And then you go ahead and close the claws around it. I guess you can do that. And so what you're supposed to do now is go ahead and you can actually take the hand off the arm, just a bit of a pull, like that. Okay, so you can detach that, and then what you're supposed to do is enclose this container, which is in 4 different parts, over the hand, and you just gotta kind of fold it and fiddle with it a little bit, and then this piece goes over this piece, and you really gotta play with it because it fits in there, but it has to fit in there the exactly right, the perfect way. And yeah, it already wants to bust through the container. So you can see how this is frustrating. Even if you wanted to get this thing in just the container alone and recreate the scene where they're going through underneath the water to the Federation base, you'd still have to go through this process. And yeah, it's not as bad as getting everything else on the figure to recreate when you're launching the missile out, but it's still problematic and not easy at all. Now, taking a second look at the instructions, it's pretty clear you're supposed to use this second ring here to attach the open container pieces over the forearm of the figure, and then attach the smoke pieces as well. This is just one big clusterfuck. It's, oh man, I just wish they were I wish they were smarter about this, really. Yeah, it just doesn't work for me. I don't want to go through the process of getting all these pieces together and then just have it droop down. I don't have a little smaller display base to put underneath the arm for this figure in order for it to work. The other 2 accessories that I showed you earlier are the upper leg portions that can interchange with the legs. Now these again are used, I think, simply just to make the figure look a little bit shorter. I think this is when the figure is in submarine mode or something like that. But anyways, all you have to do is detach the leg, the knee joint from the upper portion of the leg. So I already did it there. It's really easy. If you look into the foot of the figure, you can see the opening there. You can go ahead and line it up and attach it. You will hear a pop, and I really don't want to do it myself, but yeah, it's kind of scary. You don't want to really force it, but you have to a little bit. You got to hear that pop, and I can't really hear it. I don't know what's going on. Might have to do this off screen. Pulling out the upper portion of the leg, all you have to do is pop it out of the socket. Very easy. And then attach the new limb. And you hear a large pop. Now again, I don't really know exactly if this is just for the submarine mode of the Hygogg or what, but again, it's not much of a difference. It's just a bit shorter, and when this leg attachment is popped into the foot of the figure more securely, which I didn't really do because I didn't want to chance it, it's going to be even shorter. So I really don't see this as a necessary feature, but yeah, it's just one of those play values that maybe just make the recreation scene just that much more better. I don't know. Now, besides those 2 poses I've shown you already, you can put these containers simply on the figure and just recreate the scene where it's underwater. All you really have to do is detach the arms at the shoulder, like so, and then detach the forearms, reattaching the forearms to the upper shoulder, and there you can see some more detail underneath the shoulder armor. And this is a little difficult, getting this piece to just slide right in. There you go, it's popped in, and then you would just place this container on that forearm, have the shoulder armor down, and you can recreate the scene. Honestly, I think it's a cool gimmick, but I really think they just should have made one solid piece with the container already on the forearm, just to make this easier. I mean, it just, yeah, yeah, it's just too complicated. Or just added to the more complicated aspect of attaching this with the smoke effect parts and then the missile and the other effect parts. And there's one more scene that has to be recreated, and I think this is probably the coolest thing you can do with this figure, and it's pretty easy. So all you have to do is take out your GM cold type. Now with the GM cold type, I didn't even know this, but you can detach the top of the head and then pop out the lens, clear plastic part, and you'll see a small peg hole. No, not small, but a good sized peg hole that's there for some reason. Why is it there? It's very odd. You then proceed to go ahead and take either the left or the right, doesn't matter, hand, and you go ahead and pop out the claws. You then go ahead and attach the bent claws. Now when you're doing this, remember that the knuckles are articulated on this hand, so you just kind of gotta hold it in place and then just pop it in. Make sure not to go too fast, just really steady, and you'll hear a nice little small thump or pop when you know you got it in there right. So what do you do next? Well, you go ahead and take the attachment. Where's that peg? You take this peg attachment that I showed you before, place it in the palm right there, so that's nice and secure, and then you go ahead and grab your GM. Here's the GM. You can go ahead and place the cap or the top of the head of the GM back on. Where is it? Does it not want to go back on? It does. It's just a little complicated. There it is. So there. Now the GM's head is back on, and then you can attach this hand to the GM's head, and then you can close the claws around the GM. So there it is, the Hygogg taken apart or destroying the head of the GM. It's a pretty cool little scene to recreate. In fact, I prefer this much more than firing off the missile. It's not complicated at all. It looks pretty cool. Yeah, I like it a lot. And it just shows how, fierce this guy is. Unfortunately, you can't put the lens back onto the GM, but that's okay. You're never really seeing the front of the face. You can pose the knuckles to close around the head to make it look like it's being crushed even more, or that it's crushing the GM head even more. But unfortunately, you only get one set of these bent claws. I really wish you had an extra set, or maybe an interchangeable set that went along with the knuckles as well, so that you could basically hold up the GM as though it's using it as a shield or something when it's getting shot at. The Hygogg did that in the anime, so I really wish you could have done that with the figure. But still, very cool. I love when figures can interact with other figures and recreate scenes. What did we see that with? We saw that with the Hygogg and the GM, and that was a pretty cool recreated scene. But yeah, very nice. Good job, Bandai, with this. I thought I had time for some size comparison. Now here we have the Zaku Kai standing relatively next to the Hygogg, and of course the Zaku Kai is going to be considerably taller than the Hygogg. Then we have the GM Cold type, kind of sort of standing a little bit behind the Hygogg, and yeah, also the same as Zaku, just taller in general. So yeah, this is a little bit of a spud of a mobile suit, very short, but yeah, that doesn't take away from how awesome it is. But I'd say it's probably right around the proper size for it compared to the other figures. Yeah. Anyways, let's do final thoughts. So what's my final verdict on this figure? Is it a hit or miss with me? Did I enjoy it? Is it something that you guys should pick up for yourselves? So I gotta point out the positives first. Positives, very well articulated. This guy has bends, joints and bends everywhere on this figure, and it doesn't take away. It doesn't make the figure seem all floppy, like it doesn't have any support. You can pose this guy and it will stay in that pose for, the rest of the day. So that is definitely a plus. We've seen figures in the past that had a lot of articulation and it just ruined the figure because they were too floppy. They didn't they didn't hold still. So that's cool. You get a number of accessories, from effect parts to, I guess, well, yeah, effect parts to different interchangeable limbs. That is very cool. And then on the added bonus, you get the sticker sheet. And while it's not a big deal, seeing those sticker sheets just makes this thing pop out a little bit more. I always thought that the Damashii line should have had stickers to go along with their figures, and now that they're starting to do that, that's pretty damn cool. The poses you can do with this guy with other figures is pretty awesome. We saw how well it goes with the GM cold type. Very cool. I like that a lot. And then there's also the amount of detail on this figure. They didn't have to put detail underneath the armor, like the shoulder armor, or on the foot, little foot toes or whatever, but they did, and that makes this guy pop out even more. Just that level of detail is just really cool for a figure like this. And then there's the added bonus that goes along with this whole anime line, is that you can use different effect parts on this figure. So extra thruster parts from like the Zaku 2 custom, or Kai or whatever, can go along with this figure. And I think you can probably put some parts elsewhere. There's a little panel that opens up on the forearm that I didn't show you guys, but I just thought it was irrelevant. You can put damage effect parts or cloud effect parts on there as well, explosion parts, all that sort of thing. So that is very cool. The downside though, and it isn't really a big deal for probably some of you, but for me it is, the added effect parts that they want you to use to recreate the missile launching pose or recreation scene. It's just too much. They should have simplified it. That thing is just gonna not hold at all without some sort of support underneath the arm of the Hygogg, and then that's just gonna take away from the pose or recreating the scene in general. I just hate that. That's not fun at all. And then one other thing is the added accessories of like smaller limbs and whatnot. I feel that they could have incorporated that into the figure, you know, maybe by pulling out the leg or pushing in the leg a little bit more will make it collapse in itself and become smaller. It's just probably an easy fix, but you know, whatever. It's just my opinion. Overall, that didn't diminish my interest and love for this figure. It is very cool. Now, the price tag, however, I think was around 60. I can't remember exactly, but this is a big boxed figure, and so usually with those big boxed figures, they're pretty pricey. I bought 3 of these. I'm giving one away to a colleague in the Gundam community, so he's going to enjoy this figure, I'm sure, and I definitely recommend you guys getting this figure as well. It is a must-have. At least get one to go along with your Zaku 2 Kai and your GM Cold type and your Alex Gundam, if you're just getting all the figures in that War in the Pocket collection. So anyways, thanks for watching this review. I know it took a long time, but I've been busy starting a new job and getting stuff in, whatnot. So thanks for watching, guys. Hit like, dislike, subscribe, comment, tell me what you think, if you're in love with this figure like I am, or if you had some of the same problems with your Hygogg. Yeah. See you later, guys. Bye.